Hello, everybody. It is John Pollock, joined as always by Jimmy Korderas. We are heading into the weekend with the WWE's TLC event from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The same venue, Jimmy, where one Jesse Ventura was the special guest referee in 1999 as the governor of the state.
Yeah, and it's funny, a quick Jesse Ventura story. I remember when he came back, when he was governor, he came back for the Raw in Chicago, I believe it was before that or somewhere. But anyways, so we're up at Gorilla, and of course, you know, Vince is very anti-smoking. And Jesse came up to Gorilla with two, I guess you would call them Secret Service guys. I don't know if they were Secret Service or two of his aides or whatever. And they're standing behind Vince. And he lights up a cigar.
Huh?
And he's just puffing away, and he's blowing the smoke. And you could see, as I'm standing on the other side, and I'm waiting for this, waiting for the explosion to happen. And you can see the smoke enveloping Vince like this, right? And he just no-sold it the whole time. And Jesse's like, just blowing the smoke down at Vince. And I don't know, just one of those things that popped into my mind. Remember seeing it, just standing there, a Gorilla, going, "Oh my goodness!"
That's a great story. Jesse Ventura smoking a cigar right into Vince McMahon's face. I'm picturing a Roddy Piper, Morton Downey Jr. situation between the two.
No, it was a little different because he was standing behind him and it was coming from the back. I mean, and it was like, anyways. Yeah.
Well, that's the Target Center, which maybe we will get a lot of smoke kind of coming over top of Sister Abigail for the entrance. We will get to that. But this show, I would say 90% of the show is built around one match, maybe more, given your interest level in this show. But the TLC match, it has gone from a 3-on-3 match to a 3-on-4 match to a 3-on-5 match, as we have 8 bodies in this, comprised of the reunited Shield taking on The Miz, Sheamus, Cesaro, Braun Strowman, and the returning mayoral candidate for Knox County, Tennessee, Kane.
I actually I like the surprise of it. I actually don't have a problem with it if they connect the dots, so to speak.
I thought it made a lot of sense the way they set it up, where you have Kane coming back, and I think the key was the tombstone spot. And that here he is coming back on behalf of The Undertaker, and there's a reason for it. There is a reason why Kane would just be inexplicably linked to The Miz and Braun Strowman. I think it makes sense the way they did it. And this is a match, I think I'd have a different opinion if this were suddenly Roman Reigns was going to be having a singles match with Kane and the viability of that. In this kind of a match, I think Kane fits in fine. Like, you have the guys in this match that are going to be doing the workload of the match.
Oh, yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 40, 45-minute match out of these guys. I mean, they are carrying this show. Everything's built around this main event. And I have very high expectations. I think this is a Braun Strowman match to a T. Run around and break stuff. That is a Braun Strowman blueprint for success.
Well, we've already seen him in similar type matches where he has excelled, especially with a guy like Roman Reigns. Those two guys, Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, really have good chemistry together. And like you said, the workhorses, obviously Ambrose Rollins on one side. Not to say that Roman isn't a workhorse, but you know, like you said, they're going to be doing some heavy lifting along with Cesaro, who is just a freak.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. He's just a freak of nature. Sheamus has really been impressive. He seems to have enjoying his role in a tag team situation as opposed to being a singles. I think he genuinely enjoys hanging out and tagging with Cesaro. They seem to have become actual real good friends. I don't know, but maybe they drink coffee and Guinness together. I don't know what it is.
So this is also a good question for you because you've been involved in past TLC matches, and I have to imagine the risk greatly increases with the added amount of bodies. We saw the TLC matches with 3 teams of 2, and then we saw the Raw Roulette where they incorporated more people. I mean, tell me a bit about just the risk factor when you're talking about 8 guys and some big guys involved in this as well too, like a Braun Strowman who will probably be doing a lot more than you would say that maybe a Kane will be doing, but who knows? Just tell me about the numbers of a match like this and trying to keep it as safe as you can within the confines of what this match calls for.
Yeah, well, you know, as you see, it's evolved over the years. The TLC matches, you know, or ladder matches, you know, obviously started as one-on-one. Then it became tag teams. Then it became a 3-way tag matches. And the more people you add to that environment, especially when you add the elements of tables, ladders, and chairs, and and whatever other weapons you want to use in that, the risk factor greatly increases. And the challenge is to create these elaborate spots with these objects, but at the same time try to keep areas open. With more people there, it's hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they're going to do, for example, everybody remembers the big spear edge on Jeff Hardy hanging from the titles at WrestleMania 17, and the challenge there was everybody had to rely on making sure they were in the right position to get out of the way to allow that to happen. That's the hardest part, getting out of the way to let people do what they want to do and get as creative as they can.
It's also becomes very chaotic just to shoot a match like this, because in a regular ladder match, like, you may have 8 different guys and you can do the different combinations in the ring with a few guys selling. In this one, with the team set up and everything involved, like, I feel there's just going to be chaos all over the place, that just directing this and shooting this kind of a match for that length of time as well, where it's not centered on climbing and getting an object. It could just go all over the place. I mean, it becomes a very tough match to put together when this started out as 6 people, now it's 8, and you have all those ideas that are being thrown into the pot, and you really do need that guy that's going to be, like, it seemed that Edge and Matt Hardy were among the 2 go-to guys that would bring a lot of the ideas, but you need kind of that person that's going to quarterback this whole thing in there.
Exactly, and one of the benefits of in the WWE, at least, that I've seen is when they do matches like this, they sit down with the cameraman and with the director, and they explain to him what their vision is and what they plan to do, and what proceeds. Like, if they want something really like this needs to be, don't miss this shot. This shot needs to be done. They will talk to them and say, here's what's leading up to this. Make sure you get this shot, and this is roughly where it's going to happen. So at least they have that communication with the cameraman and with the people in the truck, so that they could minimize, it's like you said, in a chaotic match like this where a lot of stuff is going on, minimize the chances of missing any kind of shot.
There's also the part of me that is also looking at, we're just coming off of Hell in a Cell. The latest Shane dive off of the cell is just that. It's like that was certainly the period in the late 90s and early 2000s where it's like, how far can we go? And we kind of came back from that, and it just feels like in this kind of month period, the guys in this match, they're going to want to be doing something memorable in this match after people have just seen something insane 2 weeks ago. I mean, this would be like coming back with a TLC match a couple weeks after Foley and The Undertaker, where these guys want their spotlight. And I just hope that this is also, this match has to have its risks, its danger, but also keep it within the confines that these guys still have to continue after this show, and how much risk you put into this match, because I think it calls for it, and these guys are going to want to do something crazy. Yeah,
but at the same time, the match with Shane and Kevin Owens, the entire build-up to that match, everybody was waiting for that one spot, that the crazy Shane spot. What's he going to do next to try and kill himself or ruin his own body? That's the whole mindset behind the fans going into that match, expecting that. This one, I think they're expecting more car crash television, but hopefully in a logical, makes sense kind of way, one that tells a good story. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, anyways. And I'm actually expecting that. Will an
ambulance be tipped in this match?
I'm assuming something heavy is going to get tipped in this match. I don't know if it's going to be an ambulance, but they're going to showcase Braun's strength in some form or fashion. But maybe he. Well, no, I'm not. No, I was going to say beer truck, but that's somebody else.
Yeah, that's probably not an option for him. No. Maybe a giant Target truck.
Oh, there you go.
Get some brand affiliation here with the arena. Now, in terms of the actual booking of this match, I think when this started, everyone just assumed this is the Shield reunion. They just throw some opponents at them and they win. This match has gone through many different variations to get to where we are now. And I would say the situation they have now is that you do have the option that the heels can win this match, and you could come back at the Survivor Series with something, although they are kind of positioning Survivor Series now as Raw versus SmackDown. So is this ultimately a Shield victory on Sunday? Because that's probably the logical outcome, but could you see another scenario?
You can. I guess you can go in that direction where the heels can come out victorious, but if you think about it, This match is designed perfectly to protect guys like Braun Strowman and even Kane from getting, or as like people like to say, eating the pin, so to speak. So you've got the Miz in there who, even if he gets pinned in a type of match like this, doesn't hurt him, especially if there's dissension amongst the heels, because, you could go in that direction where Braun Strowman doesn't play well with others, and for that matter, Kane doesn't play well with others. They have their own agendas.
I do hope Miz stays with Sheamus and Cesaro. I think that they really all work well together.
Yep.
And yeah, I kind of like that through all of this, the different changes in this whole match, that kind of unit has come together, and it's something for the Miz to play off of them really well. Yeah. And you can do the dissension maybe with Braun, who should not be linked to any kind of group.
No, exactly. See, and it could be something as simple as Miz barking orders and him taking offense to it. That's all you need. And then out of this match, you can spin off to a Kane Roman Reigns match, which you said earlier makes perfect sense, that he's trying to avenge the apparent retirement of his brother at the hands of Roman Reigns. And maybe this leads to another match down the road where, Kane's career is on the line if Roman Reigns wins, and Roman could defeat him and retire both Brothers of Destruction, and Kane can go off and campaign.
And campaign, yes, for his big election next year. What have you thought of just the overall Shield reunion? We always knew this was a card they could eventually play. Choosing to do it now at a time when Roman Reigns doesn't have a big program going on Raw, when you don't have Brock Lesnar around and you want to kind of keep him busy until the end of the year. How everything has come together, has it been to your liking?
I actually am enjoying it. The only thing I wish is... the week prior, I wish that they were more a unit as opposed to coming out this week. This week they came out to the original way they came out, through the crowd, wearing the tactical gear.
Yes.
The original Shield garb, as I like to call it. But I wish that would have been the week prior for when the Miz was claiming the rumors of the Shield reunion, and you don't have Roman come out on the stage and followed by the other two members, where maybe you hear over the speaker system, they're not just rumors. Then you hit the music, Sierra, whatever, Echo,
right?
Whatever the letters stand for. I thought Shield was strategical homeland.
See, I think we both agree of not doing it this week, and my argument was saving that entrance with the vests for this Sunday, for when they come out for the actual match. But yeah, you could have done it the week prior, and place would have gone nuts as well for the reveal.
Go banana, as Pat Patterson would say. So, again, it probably would have worked at the pay-per-view as well if you would have held off on it, and I would have got that reaction, the desired reaction. What I find interesting is that even Roman Reigns right now is getting a more favorable reaction as a member of the Shield than he was as a singles guy, because I don't know what the mindset is, whether the mindset is he's not being pushed as the top guy, but it's going to happen again. So are they going to boo him again? I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a great reaction for Roman, and seeing Dean in that vest and the promo he cut Monday, that was a different human being on Raw than the one we have seen for the last 2 years. And it was something where you could see Dean, it was like finally he has something he can sink his teeth into. He's not wearing cowboy hats. He's not running around with James Ellsworth. He's not doing feuds with Baron Corbin. It was something really, there was some meat to it, and he just seemed to be a whole different person on Monday cutting that promo.
Him, even Seth Rollins, all three of them seem to be rejuvenated from this. It kind of lit a fire under.
They all in different ways needed this. They were all at different stages of, and I think Dean most of all needed something like this, but the other two have benefited greatly from it too. With the Roman reactions. And Seth, Seth has just, he's kind of been in this place where he's out of the title picture. He's in this fine tag program, but he's not lighting the world on fire.
Right.
And now all three of them are in something that you can see they're all very much engaged in this, and the audience, more importantly, is very engaged.
Oh, they're loving it right now. And you know what? Maybe this is a good thing for them. And I'm sure somewhere down the line they're going to eventually go their separate ways again. But for now, enjoy the ride. Why not?
And without this Shield reunion, what does this pay-per-view look like on Sunday? This feels like a show. You take out the reunion, there's not even a reason for a show on Sunday.
This is See, like I always say, and we were talking about this earlier, this should be a T-shirt for that I should make. I'm a glass half full guy, and looking at the rest of the card, I am really struggling to actually put anything in the glass.
Yeah, this is a show that is comprised of matches. That is the best I can say. And you know what? None of these programs underneath have any momentum to them. So I was glad they didn't just water them down with more stipulations.
Right.
I did not need to see 2 hours of tables, of ladders, and chairs involved in matches that are not going to be helped by them. I really don't care. I would rather just have the one big TLC match on this show.
And the smart thing about that is when you have a match where a chairs match, a tables match, a ladder match, it takes away from the main event, which is the combination of all three.
And why would you want to do that?
And you don't want to do that. You want to give these guys every opportunity and every possible spot they could use with it, instead of saying, well, these guys did this with the chair earlier, so we can't do that. And you know what I mean? It limits them, too.
So next up, we have the Mickie James, Alexa Bliss Raw Women's title match built around the aging, the old 38-year-old Mickie James, who is trying to prove that she can still compete with the young talent out there. 38, Jimmy.
Wow. I'm feeling ancient right about now. Thanks a lot, Alexa Bliss. But it's funny because if you look at other superstars on the roster, there's a few that are actually quite older than Mickie James. But
We just saw the big return of 50-year-old Kane in the main event.
There you go. The biggest example right there. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of this. I remember way back when it was the mocking of Mickie James when they were calling her Piggy James.
That stuff was so awful.
It was that I didn't like. And I get it. They're trying to do something similar, but in a way that won't offend as many people. So let's go after the... They're not even the elderly. I mean, like, what do you call them? I mean, you go after the under middle-aged. I don't know. Where are you going with this? I guess anybody 10 years old.
Pre-millennials.
Yeah, pre-millennial. I guess anybody 10 years older than you is considered old. I don't know.
So in this match, I mean, it's you could do the title switch with Mickie and give her a brief run with the title, but I feel ultimately Alexa just retains this title.
Probably. I think that's the direction to go, and she seems to be. See, again, here we go with the depth issues. You wonder where you're going with Sasha Banks. You wonder where you're going with Bayley.
And now there's a question mark about Nia Jax, which we assumed was the destination for Alexa after this program, and. We've seen reports out that she's been at least granted a leave of absence right now. Really don't know the circumstances, but if she isn't around, that could change plans because I figured Alexa gets by this and goes to Nia for something after this. You also, again, I'm going to go back to this. I'm already not looking forward to the Survivor Series. I'm not a fan of the Raw versus SmackDown stuff for a lot of reasons, one of which all your programs on this show get halted for a month.
Right.
Like if we were looking at Alexa versus Nia, it probably would be on hold until December. And we have to go through all these interpromotional matches now for the next month, which I guess whatever. If you don't have a whole lot of challenges for Alexa, I guess it's something. Then Alexa can face off with, do you put her with the SmackDown Women's Champion? Then you put the Natalya Charlotte program on hold as well.
Right.
It just seems... Anyway, that's my rant for next month.
Okay. Well, I agree with that. But if you're going to do something like this, like obviously we got this week the challenge from Jinder Mahal challenging Brock Lesnar, which seems to be the Survivor Series main event. Do you go full bore with this now, and do you have the tag champs face the tag champs, the IC champ face the US champ, the ladies face each other? Is that what this pay-per-view is going to be built around? And if you do, because I'm assuming they're trying to create that.
This deadly rivalry that is, the line is when we need an announcer to call the opposite show.
Right. And Michael Cole is, oh, wow. I just thought about that.
Yeah, Michael Cole will have to be calling both because he is now the voice of Raw and SmackDown temporarily.
Yes.
Anyway, getting back to this. So we have that match. We also have Asuka's debut against Emma. I think it's been smart to keep Asuka off television until this show.
Yes.
I think that's been for the betterment of all of this. With Emma, I mean, these two could go out and have a tremendous 13, 14-minute match. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this is more or less a showcase for Asuka
Absolutely.
To come in And then it becomes the big curiosity of where is Asuka in 2 months? Because as you've listed off, where Bayley was on day one on the main roster versus today, Sasha Banks. I mean, I'm sorry. The odds are certainly in the glass half empty corner, Jimmy, on this one of where Asuka is. And if they can recapture half of what they had in NXT with this woman who could legitimately headline shows for that brand.
Well, here comes my glass half full.
Go for it. Go all in.
And what I think they've done with Asuka is the right way to introduce someone from the NXT brand by presenting all these videos and vignettes and showing the WWE universe, the audience who may have heard of her, some may not have heard of her, haven't seen her perform, don't know much about her, but introduce her to the audience and build her up in a way where you make her this big deal. And you've done that for what, a month now? A little over a month now? Now people are paying attention, so they're looking forward to this. When you introduce someone to the roster just to get that one-night pop from the audience that already knows who these people are, like debuting Bobby Roode, for example, on the SmackDown brand the Tuesday after Brooklyn, because you know you're going to get a reaction in Brooklyn, that doesn't help you long-term down the road, because eventually you have to cater to that casual audience. And as much as a lot of fans today don't give a you-know-what about the casual audience, they're still your bread and butter. They're the people you're trying to attract. Your hardcore audience is there. They know who these people are. You have to introduce these people the right way, and I think they did with Asuka.
So far, so good. Yeah, I'm not complaining about what they've done.
I'm just hoping she's the anomaly, because as we've discovered with Shinsuke Nakamura, you have to be a complete superstar and able to communicate to the audience and not one of the things they've done with Shinsuke is, of course, given him this weird whatever
goofy persona, which it's not. To me, there's some characters you have to think outside of the box with. When they introduced Kane, here's an example, 20 years ago. Yeah. Here was a guy that got over without cutting any promos, that had a mask on, and it was at a time when, again, the thinking was, hey, you got to be able to cut promos here. It's like, this guy didn't cut promos, and he was a main event heel on day one. Sometimes you have to think out of the box, and Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka, there are many performers. I would argue Finn Balor. I mean, this guy is not the strongest talker as a babyface. That sometimes you have to come up with more interesting ideas to get him across to that audience. That it's like not everyone fits in the exact same mold of the people that preceded them. Not everybody is going to be John Cena. Not everybody is going to be Trish Stratus for a prototype that they have in their mind that all of these men and women have to acclimate themselves to. It's their personalities for a reason.
Exactly, and Chris Jericho said it best. The guys who seem to excel the best in this business are the guys who take that element of themselves and turn it up to 11, as I say, and go from there. And sometimes you have to just let Shinsuke be Shinsuke, let Asuka be Asuka, and let them, succeed or fail. I mean, sometimes, it's funny where if you let them go out there and try, and if they fail, it's on them. But it's funny how sometimes you give them stuff to do, and you say, do it this way, and they go out there and it fails, and you still blame them. And they're doing their best with what they're given. It's just sometimes it doesn't work, but you can't blame. Sometimes you can blame the talent, but at other times you can't. It's a tricky situation.
Well, that's about the best segue we've got to get into Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. I'm sorry, the Demon versus Sister Abigail.
The Pumpkin Demon, Halloween Demon.
Yes. Yeah. This has been something. This is our third straight pay-per-view match involving these two. Yeah. With all due respect to their alter egos in this match on Sunday, I hate this. I've hated all of it. I don't understand what I'm watching. I think that Bray Wyatt is. I mean, if this were 1985, he would be on to the next territory by this point. And for Finn Balor, I don't know. This guy has been dragged down from this. I mean, his segment was no better this past Monday as I'm watching this morphing happening on my screen. Jimmy, is there even a drop in your glass? Is there anything here for you?
Okay.
Because mine is dry. I'm in the desert on this one.
Okay. When we talked last week and you said we'll be doing this preview at this time, whatever, and I thought, okay, now I got I don't know, 4 or 5 days to come up with a a glass half full scenario for this program. And then Monday night rolled around, and I said, well, okay, I got a couple more days. Maybe I could find something out of this. I don't know. Maybe they'll present something on Monday night. Then Monday night came, and I went, okay, we're still fishing here. And then I thought to myself, well, I just read an interview from Finn Balor, and he's saying he's looking forward to the challenges being presented in this program with Bray Wyatt.
Accurate description of what is in front of him.
And I thought to myself, that's very magnanimous of you to put it that way. And then I thought to myself,
he got Employee of the Month. Sorry, Independent Contractor of the Month.
Yes, absolutely. And then I thought to myself, and Neville's the guy who walked out. And I go, you've got to be kidding me here. I have not like this. I did come up with, well, I won't say me because somebody else came up with something where the only saving grace in this for me will be that actually Bray Wyatt is not actually the transformation into Sister Abigail, that it is someone else.
A woman?
No.
Oh.
Well, if it's not, I would hope it was a woman.
A man will play the sister.
If it's a transformation from male as a male playing sister,
God.
It's the Norman Bates thing. But this is like really fishing out there because obviously in my mind, someone else to play Sister Abigail would have been perfect, but unfortunately she works elsewhere. So I thought that would be the perfect fit. But if it is going to be a guy transforming into Sister Abigail, somebody's been missing from the Miztourage for a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's Bo.
Maybe Bo ends up being Sister Abigail. But you know what? After even saying that, there's nothing in the glass.
Wow. Bo Dallas is Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
That's possible.
I don't know.
You could do that.
I need a drink after that.
Yeah. What's in that drink? I think that you might need that on Sunday night before this match. The only question coming out of this is, what has been Bray Wyatt's worst feud of 2017 between Randy Orton and Finn Balor?
It's funny because what was the house match?
House of Horrors.
House of Horrors match.
Which followed the most ridiculous WWE title match in WrestleMania history.
With all the whatever you call it, the crawling stuff.
Randy Orton described it very differently.
Yeah.
But we're a family show here,
yes,
so I won't quote him.
Exactly. Man, that's a tough one.
This is going to be the biggest debate at the end of the year when we have our worst of awards.
I don't think there's going to be a debate. I think it's just you just encompass the entire Bray Wyatt feuds for this 2017.
This guy somehow
Bray Wyatt in anybody's program 2017.
Is it amazing that in this sea of garbage this year, there was a title run that Bray Wyatt had this year?
Which nobody remembers.
Nobody
remembers because we remember refrigerators falling on Randy Orton, and we remember.
And he won that Elimination Chamber match, and it was like, this guy stumbled along the way, but he felt like, okay, there's something here. Right. There is something finally with Bray Wyatt with this title, and it was extinguished in record fashion. Mm-hmm. And this year has been one for the ages for this character. Yeah. And I just see this Bray Wyatt character as one that they are committed to, and I hear all these people talk about, oh, he's so unique, he's something different. I'm like, yeah, he's different, he's unique, but so are a lot of diseases that can kill you. And that's what I'm watching at this point with him. I don't know. I don't have a great answer of where this guy goes out of, but I think they're so in love with this character that has yielded zero results.
Right.
And it's just the sideshow that just to me doesn't connect with any of your audience in 2017.
Yeah, I think it's different because everybody was expecting, and I know a lot of people said this, and at first maybe I thought so, but then I thought differently very quickly that Bray Wyatt would be this generation's Undertaker. That's what they were thinking, but at the same time, it just felt different with The Undertaker. Obviously, the supernatural elements presented by the character worked for him. It's like everybody says in those specials, and you can line up 1,000 guys to play the Undertaker character, but that one guy who was the Undertaker was the only guy who could make it work.
See, I look at him as this generation's Kane, where Undertaker would get some wacky ideas, but the Undertaker, I mean, yeah, you can probably cite a few examples, but I am sure, turned down a lot of crazy stuff that was just not within the character of The Undertaker, and that was the stuff that Kane had to go out. Kane had to electrocute Shane McMahon's testicles.
Right.
Kane had to light Jim Ross on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, there was countless examples of Kane without even getting into necrophilia. Like, there were all the craziest stuff. Kane had to absorb that.
Right.
And The Undertaker, I mean, realistically, when you look at it, like, it's a pretty out of this world character, but yeah, it did work. And his craziest stuff was largely in the 90s when I think that you had an audience that was more accepting of that kind of a character, that today it would be very hard, I think, to introduce a dead man that what was in that set. And like The Undertaker, he would probably be the first to admit that he wasn't doing 1991 Undertaker in 2012.
Right.
It was an updated version to get to the present. And I don't feel Bray Wyatt is like, you can only fail so many times in these programs before you're realizing that this version is not working. Maybe you have something in this character, but the programs that surround it and was written for this guy is just, it's material I don't think anybody could get across.
Right, and again, going back to The Undertaker, from his introduction into the WWF at the time, that character evolved over time.
Yes.
and changed and like you said, updated versions of that character throughout the I guess generations of WWE through that time. Bray Wyatt is kind of different. Again, people trying to make that comparison to The Undertaker, I think that's part of the problem, and they're still seeing that in him, and they're not allowing that character to flourish. And like you said, the suspension of disbelief doesn't apply as much today. People are less likely to buy into a character like that in wrestling programming than they would back in the day. And that I completely agree with you, John.
Let's go to the Cruiserweight title match. Kalisto defending against Enzo, which, if you listen to his promo, would be news to Kalisto because he believes he's going in as the challenger on Monday. He's going to get quite the surprise. Do we just flip the title right back to Enzo here?
I'm kind of thinking it might happen. I would like to see a little bit of a run for Kalisto. I mean, I think
I'd like to see there be a reason that they did this title change. I thought they just should have left it on Enzo, and it should have been him holding this title hostage until you finally build up to the Cruiserweights being allowed to get their hands on this guy, and the big babyface win occurs. And they did that all in one night on Raw.
Exactly, and it was kind of like an afterthought to do it too. The only thing I dislike about the Kalisto thing is I think he's very talented in the ring. I think he's starting, I guess, to obviously a little bit of a struggle on the microphone. But
what are you talking about?
A little bit of a struggle.
Jimmy, if he was here, he'd say your mouth is like a 7-Eleven. It's always open.
Yeah, it pretty much is nowadays. I mean, like, I can't stop talking. But anyways, it's just that it's almost like, and this is where I have a problem. It's almost like they're trying to recreate a new Rey Mysterio as opposed to trying to create a new superstar.
I think you see that, and I also feel that whether it's him on his own or he's been asked, like, you can see when a guy is trying to do Eddie Guerrero in his promos, and it just hits me over the head when I hear this guy talk. Like, he's trying to do Eddie Guerrero.
Right.
It's like a comedian that's just starting out on stage, and they have all these influences in their head, and you start to sound like that guy instead of yourself. So, I mean, he's been thrown a lot from being nothing on television to now he's in, I'm not going to say a prominent role, but within the Cruiserweight division, he's the focal babyface at the moment. So, a tremendously talented performer. I think he belongs in 205 Live at the moment. But I thought you had, like, whether you agreed with the Enzo direction or not, they committed to it. So go all the way with it. You had this story. Like imagine the NWO starts and they all lose within a month.
Right.
Like, just because, one day we felt like doing something different and the baby faces all won. It's like, well, you put the investment in here and you didn't allow it to grow and reap the eventual reward. Imagine Enzo having this title for so long. And then we finally get to a lumberjack match where finally these cruiserweights that had this no contact clause can get their hands on him.
Right.
And he finally loses the title. Like, that could have been built up over a few months.
And the other thing too is so quickly every cruiserweight in the division, every single one of them were anti-Enzo, and then all of a sudden a few guys
Now the heels back them.
Oh, yeah, the heels all back them now. It would have been interesting and completely
And there was
different.
no explanation on 205 Live. Like, to at least get, like, you had Arya Daivari, who was by his side, but no promo from Tony Nese, no promo from the Lawn Gnome, Noam Dar, who was insulted by this guy week after week.
Right.
Nothing. Like, even Drew Gulak. Like, there was no even explanation that, hey, we're going to take a sharp left here, but we'll at least explain it to you the next night of why this got there. Nothing.
We could have at least got a PowerPoint presentation explaining why these guys are with Enzo.
Well, we're getting a championship PowerPoint presentation on the pre-show, Jimmy, on Sunday as well. Let's wrap this one up. We've also got on the show, what am I missing here? I think that's just about everything. We've got a tag team match with Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander against Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher. Should be fine.
Yeah.
And then on the pre-show, we have Alicia Fox versus Sasha Banks.
Which I
very little to say about these matches.
Yeah, they're there.
They are there. Hopefully they are fine. And that's about what you can ask for. Let's see if the audience is into the Cruiserweight tag match. I do think those four will have a really good tag match.
I think so,
it's
too.
It's just a question of whether the audience is into it or not.
Right.
And I could also see something being added at the last minute involving Jason Jordan, Gallows, Anderson, Elias,
Possibly.
Matt Hardy. I mean, we have a TLC show and no Matt Hardy on the show.
No Hardys at all.
Yeah, maybe you could do something like Jason Jordan with Apollo and Matt Hardy against Elias, Anderson, Gallows, something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll all depend on the timing of that main event. If it's going to take up a lot of time, maybe they won't be able to fit anything else on this show.
I was surprised that they went with only 7 matches, and again, it's their network, so they can run over all they want.
They can, and I think this is very much a one-match show coming up on Sunday for TLC, so we will see what they have in store. You can tune into that show on the WWE Network, and then afterwards, the Law will have a full rundown of TLC at midnight Eastern with Dan Lebransky and Jason Agnew coming up on TSN 1050 Toronto for our friends in Vancouver on TSN 1410, and you can listen live at liveaudiowrestling.com. All of that is coming your way, and Jimmy will be back next week as we recap TLC.